What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Boost and Friends. If you missed it, last week we started working on the Evo. This is a project that's been building up for a long time. I've just kind of been collecting parts, and then now it's finally time to start. I have everything that I need to complete the project. And last week we started by kind of getting the garage set up a little bit so that I have some more room to work on the car because it's going to be sitting in the same spot. And then we got up to the point where I got the intake manifold off. From there, we're just going to continue working on it. I'm going to dive right back in. I'm going to get the head off the car today. We got to replace the head studs, all the timing components. So let's get right into it. And remember, right off the bat, if you guys are interested in keeping up with the progression of this build, starting from the very beginning, last week's video, until the very end, when we got it on the dyno, make sure you subscribe, follow along, helps me out. Thanks a lot. Before we actually get the head off the car, I had the intake manifold off the car. We do have to make some changes to this intake manifold, and in order for me to feel like I actually did something today, instead of just taking the car apart, I am going to start by making the changes to the intake manifold, which includes replacing this old S90 throttle body that is cable driven and replacing it with this Bosch electric throttle body. Not only is the throttle body going to clean up the engine bay quite a bit, getting rid of the cables and a couple of the connections to make the wiring a little bit easier, but this is also going to give us a little bit more ability when it comes to tuning. For example, with these, it's much easier to dial in idle than it is with a typical idle air control valve. You'll be able to have cruise control, which the Evos never came with, so that's kind of nice. But we're gonna get this bolted up, and we're gonna change some of the vacuum lines and stuff on the back of the intake manifold that need to change with the whole new setup. This is the Manifold Absolute Pressure Sensor, or MAP sensor. It measures how much pressure is inside of the intake manifold, and I'll no longer need this style of one for the new ECU. It is going to a 1/8 NPT connection instead of this factory connector here. So what I'm going to be doing is just using this little plate from STM that allows you to put a 1/8 NPT style MAP sensor into the factory location, but I'm just going to be using one of these little plugs to fill this hole because I'm going to put the new MAP sensor onto the back of the intake manifold to kind of keep everything hidden. This is the old fitting for the boost gauge that I had inside the car. We no longer need a boost gauge because the boost will be available on the dash. So we're gonna get rid of this, plug up that hole as well. So we're gonna be using two plugs on the top of this, 1, 2, and that's just going to clean up the top of this intake manifold so that we no longer have any lines or cables or anything of the sort on top of here. All these little things that you can do to sort of like clean up the engine bay as you're moving along with projects like this are kind of my favorite. It's like you do this thing and then you get to clean up the engine bay a little bit on this, and then a little bit more here when you do this and change this. And then over time you can really make a big difference on what the engine bay looks like. Cleaning up wiring, cleaning up vacuum lines. There are plenty of people out there that spend way more time cleaning up and hiding everything. I don't prioritize that so much, but whenever I get a chance to make little changes that do clean up the engine bay, I always try and do that. So hopefully by the time this is done, everything looks nice and pretty. Time for the throttle body. This is a Bosch Motorsports electronic throttle body. This little adapter here that bolts on while you're bolting the throttle body onto the intake manifold is from Outsider Garage. And what it does is these Bosch throttle bodies have a very, very short area here where you can clamp on your coupler for your intercooler piping. So Outsider Garage kind of makes this little adapter that makes it a little bit easier, gives you a little bit more room with a nice little lip for your coupler to go on and to clamp around. So shout out to those guys. The other thing that they provided is this adapter plate so that you can go from the Skunk 2 bolt pattern to the Bosch throttle body bolt pattern. And the really cool thing about this is one of those things that when you upgrade to aftermarket parts versus OEM is you get to get rid of the gaskets. So those annoying gaskets that you're always trying to get in there and put like screws in through, and then they like slide out, and the whole thing is no longer needed because everything here is O-ring. So both sides have an O-ring gasket instead of like a paper gasket. Everything's nice and easy to install, put together, and then you know the seal is good. First thing we'll do is get this thing bolted up to the intake manifold, and then we'll bolt the throttle body with that little adapter on the front of it onto this. Okay, there we go. Throttle body all back together. All the top ports sealed off so that it's nice and pretty when it's in the car. So this throttle body is quite a bit longer than the throttle body that I took off of there, especially with this adapter. We're gonna see when we go to put everything back together how that works with the intercooler piping. But hopefully everything works out okay. Cross that bridge when we get there. I think what I'm going to try and do in order to make it so that I don't have to take all of the coolant lines and oil lines off of the turbo is to leave the turbo bolted to the downpipe, leave the manifold bolted to the head, and then take the head off of the car and leave the turbo and everything in there. I think that might be the easiest way to do it. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to try it. Okay, so I don't really have a good reason, but I've spent the last little bit of time trying to make the firewall look better before I take the head off. I thought the intake manifold's off. This is a good time to move the fuel pressure regulator, make sure that I have good routing for all the new fuel lines, stuff like that, which seems out of order, but sometimes when you're doing stuff, you just need to do something that feels productive so that you don't go crazy. Up next is this little doodad from Radium Engineering, which goes over top of your ethanol sensor so that the flow through the sensor is typically restricted because of the size of that sensor. So what this does is it allows fuel to still go through that sensor, but it also reroutes fuel up through here. It allows more fuel flow so that you don't have that as any type of restriction. I don't know if this is necessary for the type of power that I'm making, but it's one of those things where it's like better safe than sorry. Just get it knocked out, get it out of the way. So up next, I'm just gonna throw this bad boy in there. Now I graduated on to doing anything else besides taking the head off, which is fuel lines. So I made this just killing time. Throttle cable. This tensioner is brand new. You use a 1/2-inch drive to release the tension. And last time I tried to take this off of here, this entire corner of the block just snapped off. So that was fun. So that's why this is brand new. Those still look brand new. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So far so good. Yeah, buddy. I'll take those spark plugs all day long. Everything looks really clean. Everything looks like it's in really good shape. This engine hasn't really been together that long, so that's a good sign. The timing belt has been removed. Okay. We can set it back right here for a second. Okay, I think we're a little beyond the point of no return now. The head is off the car, which is what my goal was today. In the upcoming videos, it's obviously going to be putting things back together. We're going to get a lot of the mechanical stuff done, the cams, the head studs, the parts that kind of get bolted on, and then we're going to turn to the electronic side of stuff, going with the new ECU, the new dash, the new throttle body, the new wiring harness. Still a ton coming. Subscribe to keep up. Be my friend.